And it's just basketball. At the end of the day, it's just basketball.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe on the way in the door, my people. I hope you all are having a truly fantastic day today on this Monday. And we are going to get to the super thanks, and the title of the video comes from one of the super thanks. And before we do that, well, a couple of things. First of all, I think for these super thanks, I'm going to start doing them live. So probably next week or the week after on Mondays when I read the super thanks, I think I'm gonna just go live and do it that way, so we can get some on the spot interactions and reactions. And before we get into it, I need to give a shout out to the channel members. Thank you guys so much for becoming a member of the channel. Shout out to Gary, aka G the Great One. Shout out to Adidas 20. Shout out to Dr. Les Barrett. Shout out to Dwayne S. Honor, Thanos Snap Feminism, Keith Brazell, Charles Hookah, and In the Groove 56. Thank each and every one of you for joining the channel membership. And I would say within the new year, we're gonna start getting some members only content going, but I appreciate you guys very sincerely for supporting the channel. So without further ado, let's get into these super thanks. First up, this is coming from my former NBA player. Said that Kobe Bryant had the highest threshold for pain. And in that video, we were talking about players like Kobe Bryant, particularly playing through injuries, unlike a lot of these players in the modern NBA, particularly the Duck, who had to sit out recently for foot soreness. You know, again, people don't underestimate the foot soreness. You know, I know LeBron James says he loves the game, and the day he can't give it at all is the day he'll retire. That's what he said at the ESPYs, fanboys. But hey, foot soreness, hey, I can understand why he needed to take a week away from the game for that foot soreness. But anyway, shout out to @Thanos Snap Feminism, coming through with the $5 super thanks. And he says the words LeBron told his 4 and 6 kingdom before going on vacation to take his Bane serum. To all my little Hulkamaniacs, say your prayers, take your vitamins, and you will never go wrong. Shout out to @Thanos Snap Feminism. Thank you so much for the $5 super thanks, and thank you so much for your continued support of the channel. Next up, shout out to @G the Great One. This is coming from my LeBron James killed the NBA ratings in his era. And he comes through with the $2 super thanks. He says, thank you, Uncommon Sense, for using your platform to speak up against the dare and the foolishness that is taking place in the NBA. I used to love the game, but now I can't stand it. Please keep the content coming. Your work is definitely making a difference out here in these YouTube streets. I'd rather watch your videos any day over the sports debate shows or player podcasts. Hey, that means a lot. Thanks so much for the $2 super thanks. Thanks for supporting the channel. But yeah, you know, I feel like this is kind of the same boat that we're all in. You know, those of us who witness real basketball, who witness greatness, you know, we're in this place right now where, you know, we can't even watch the game we love. Matter of fact, someone recently left a comment Might have been on the video I did yesterday about JJ Redick. But someone left a comment that says, if you love basketball, you probably hate the NBA. And I'm like, there is no truer statement, because if you love the game of basketball for everything that it involves, with the fundamental thing being the competition, being competitive, seeing players go at each other, if you used to play basketball and you remember having that feeling of going at people and having them go at you, the competition is the fundamental aspect of sports. And if you love that about the game, how could you love the game right now? It's not possible. But anyway, shout out to @G the Great One. And next up, shout out to @G the Great One again, coming through with another $2 super thanks. And this is coming from my LeBron James. Says, it's not his fault that he didn't get to play 82 games, people. It's not his fault. The team doctors and whatever, probably JJ Ridiculous, said, hey, you need to take some time off. And so even though LeBron James at the beginning of the season, unprompted for some reason, told the world that he plans to play 82 games, we can all imagine that it's probably because Michael Jordan played 82 games in his last years with the Wizards. But even though LeBron James volunteered this information unprompted, and there was really no reason to believe that he would, now that it hasn't happened, he had to let everyone know that, hey, if it was up to him, he probably would have played. That's the words he used specifically. He said, I probably would have played. But anyway, shout out to @G the Great One. Comes through with the $2 super thanks. He says, thank you, Uncommon Sense, for stating this. I've been telling those around me who cap for LeBron and these soft NBA players today that if these players wanted to play, they would override the coaching staff and trainers. These guys don't want to play. These guys choose to sit out and then hide behind management. Meanwhile, they control everything else as it relates to basketball. They choose their team, their teammates, their coaches. LeBron is the #1 reason that these guys are so entitled. They followed his lead. That is LeBron's influence, misleading the NBA. He is the worst thing to happen to the sport. The NBA is done. Stick a fork in it. Keep the content coming, and you know that I absolutely will do that. And yes, this is nothing to disagree with in this comment. This is what we've been saying. This is one of the things I've been saying since the beginning of my YouTube journey, is that there is no one on the face of this earth who can tell me that these players love the game. You cannot convince me that these players love the game. Because if you love something, you can't convince me that these players love competing. Because if you love something, you do it every chance that you get. If you love something, you take it seriously. It's not a joke to you. And what you said here is exactly right. It's like LeBron James. So you mean to tell me you can get your podcast partner a job to coach the storied franchise of the Lakers? You can get your son, who can't play, a spot on the Lakers roster, but you can't play 82 games when the team doctors tell you that you should load manage? Fanboys, does that make sense to you? If you're a supporter of LeBron James, does that make sense to you? I'm sure in your head, you're figuring out a way to make it make sense, or at the very least, you're just gonna say, oh, well, you're just hating, and not address what I just asked you. But, again, this is what I've been saying. You can't convince me that the actions of these players show how they feel about the game. Everybody knows this. It's like, don't listen to what someone says, listen to what they do. And their actions say that they don't care about the game of basketball like that. Their actions say that they are not competitors like that. Yeah, I mean, we can go on. But shout out to @G the Great One. Thanks so much for the $2 super thanks. And of course, thanks so much for your continued support of the channel. Next up, shout out to @Dr3196, one of my favorite viewers that I love to see in the comments responding to these ridiculous LeBron James fanboys. He comes through with the $2 super thanks, and this is coming from that same video about LeBron James saying, hey, if it was up to me, I would have played. If it was up to me, but it's not my fault, people. It never is. Shout out to the doctor. He says, quote, if it were up to me, I'd have won those 6 other finals. Because those losses were really not up to him. Indeed. Shout out to the Dr. 3196. Yeah, everybody knows this. Anytime LeBron James fell, you know, if it was up to him, if it was up to him, he would have just, like I said, LeBron James' ideal situation in the NBA is to be able to pick the whole team, starters and bench. This is LeBron James' ideal situation. However, make no mistake, fanboys, make no mistake that even if LeBron James were able to do that, when they inevitably lost, because they would lose because LeBron James is on the team, he would make an excuse. Then he would start saying, Kevin Durant, he was on the decline, and Steph Curry, he was on the decline. So, you know, it's what do you want me to do? I know we had a whole team full of all superstars and Hall of Famers, but a lot of them, half of them were on the decline. You know, half of them were 30 plus years old. Well, what do you want me to do? Shout out to @Dr3196. Thanks so much for the $2 super thanks. Thank you so much for your continued support of the channel. Next up, shout out to @StoryGames8520. And this is coming from my older video, how LeBron James destroyed competition in the NBA. And he says, not going to lie, your statement that Kobe dying and the standards of the NBA died with him hit me so hard. It's sad to see such a great sport get reduced to such ridiculousness. All we can do is hope for Wemby or some other future superstar to come in who isn't afraid to go against the current grain and actually hold their fellow players accountable, actually want to compete, actually want to focus on winning and not just stats. Shout out to @StoryGames8520. Now, I will say this, I hope Wemby turns out to be a fierce competitor, but I don't know if the only thing it's going to take is a star coming in like that, not with Commissioner Baltimore still being the commissioner of the NBA. I really don't know. You know, the more I've been thinking about this, and I actually may do a live about this at some point, is the NBA actually fixable at this point, or have we gone to the point of no return with the product? Especially, you know, unless they get rid of Commissioner Baltimore, I really don't see how it's going to be possible, even if a player comes in who's a fierce competitor and who's talented. I feel like that player would he would have to be more than that. It would take a Michael Jordan type player, and what I mean by that is it can't be just the talent. It would have to be someone who's charismatic and who really captures the attention of non-basketball fans, who really, draws that spotlight, not just from the game standpoint, but because they're charismatic as well, and people want to listen to them. Because then I think a player like that probably could do some good. But again, shout out to @StoryGames8520. Thanks so much for the $2 super thanks, and thanks for continuing to support the channel. Next up, we have In the Groove 56 coming through with the $2 super thanks. And this is coming from my LeBron James should not be ranked among the greats any longer video, or maybe he shouldn't be ranked at all, fanboys. Shout out to In the Groove 56 coming through with the $2 super thanks. He says, thanks. LeBron was invited to a league raised on sweet potato pie, but decided to bring pumpkin pie, claiming it's the same thing. Those before him gave the recipe to greatness, but he decided to change it. Every real basketball fan can identify a fake by lifting up the item and it reads made in China. Today's NBA is like playing baseball without an infield and only home runs matter. And football without a defensive line, every rusher can amass yards towards the end zone and score. LeBron is a WWE entertainer in the making. Fanboys will remind their children of his presence by reading fairy tales. Shout out to @InTheGroove56. Yeah, facts. And the main thing, like I said, and this kind of goes back to my video I did yesterday on JJ Ridiculous, saying that it's the media's fault, mainstream media's fault, because they're talking negatively about the game, when again, that is a lie. The mainstream media, the reason channels like this exist is because mainstream media has been lying to us by trying to tell us how, not just how great the product is, but trying to tell us that it's better than ever. And like I said in my video yesterday, that only works on people who don't have anything to compare it to. For people like us who have seen what real competitive basketball is like, you can't do that with us. Like, because we know what it's supposed to be like. So shout out to @InTheGroove56. Thanks for being a channel member. Thanks for the $2 super thanks. And thank you so much for your continued support of the channel. Next up, shout out to @StoryGames8520 again. And this is coming from the Rob Parker Cooks. Adam Silver says he is the worst commissioner in all of sports. And he comes through with the $2 super thanks. He said, it's sad to say this, but I agree with Rob Parker in that you got to get rid of the game if you see the players are not interested. Now, I think we're talking about the All-Star game. He says the NFL did it with the Pro Bowl. I fear the same fate will have to happen with the NBA All-Star game. I mean, they might as well get rid of it, but it's like kind of like I've been saying, it's like they keep trying to provide temporary solutions, or they keep trying to treat the symptoms instead of the problem. The problem is these entitled players. If you keep trying to, again, someone who's using you, you don't make the situation better by continually giving them the things that they ask for. If you're dating a gold digger, do you think the answer to fixing the problems is simply throwing more money at them? Like, this is ridiculous. This is not a fix. And like I said, I can't remember if it was at the end of that video or another video, but I said at this point, hey, I say, just let the players burn it down. Give them every single thing they ask for. If they want to play less games in the season, let them have at it. Just let them keep cutting it further and further down until all that's left is every year is just playoffs. The players will get together and practice one time before the playoffs, have the playoffs, crown a champion, and then we'll be off for the next 11 months. So just let the players burn it down. Just let them do any and everything they want. Because this is where we're headed anyway. This is what Adam Silver has been doing. The NBA, like I said, we're potentially in an irreparable place right now. But shout out to @StoryGames8520. Thanks again for the $2 super thanks. I sincerely cannot thank you enough for your continued support of the channel. Next up, shout out to @BlaneAlmeida. And this is coming from the same video about Rob Parker saying Adam Silver is the worst commissioner in sports. And he comes through with a total of $6, his 3 different $2 super thanks. And he says, you're good at what you do, and I appreciate your honest content. Thank you so much. That really means a lot. And I think, I feel like as a content creator, like, I'm not saying I have all the answers, but what I can guarantee is that I'm going to give you my honest opinion about things. And that is what I will continue to do on each and every video. So fanboys, when I say that your king is ridiculous and so are you, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. But believe that, fanboys. But shout out BlaneAlmeida. Thanks so much for the $6 super thanks, and thanks for your continued support of the channel. And next up, shout out to @Dr3196 coming through with the $10 super thanks. And this is coming from my video about LeBron James has so much money. Fanboys, this is what you guys like to talk about. LeBron James has so much money. But this is what you don't like to talk about. But he has so little respect. And he's begged us for it and doesn't realize respect is earned. Respect is earned by your actions, and LeBron James' actions in the NBA and outside of the NBA for that matter haven't been respectable. Sorry, fanboys. You win some, you lose some. Shout out to @Dr3196. He comes through with the $10 super thanks. He says, when you type billionaires are mentally ill, there are a lot of videos to watch. A lot of their money is tied into businesses that has to keep making revenue. And so many of them are scared of losing their money, which happens a lot. A lot of these kids just don't know how a financial portfolio is built. LeBron doesn't have $1 billion in cash sitting somewhere like a drug cartel. I don't think he'll lose money once he retires despite his crappy shoe line, but we are all pretty sure he'll be incredibly miserable mentally. Guarantee that, just for the simple fact that LeBron James needs the spotlight. If LeBron James doesn't constantly have people praising him, lying about him, he's definitely going to be mentally miserable. He says his wife is running a podcast called Everybody's Crazy. Does that sound like a well-adjusted housewife? His older son smokes weed and games while scoring some points at the G League. And all the biological consequences of his juicing is going to start tearing his body down even more. Blood clots from EPO, enlarged heart from pumping thicker blood to enhance muscles, his shriveled testes due to external hormones, liver and kidney failure from breaking and clearing all the chemicals, the disfigured skin on his face, the potential for another tumor like his jaw, and all the hair he's losing are just some of the potential consequences. I just watched a bodybuilder's testament to going off cycle, and he said he lost all motivation to even train once he's gone off stack after 10 weeks. All the mid-game and mid-season quitting is telling why his mental game is so chaotic. He's on perpetual PMS. Yeah, he's got money, but he made them with so many dishonest methods. He hung out with Diddy, just like Kevin Samuels used to say after hearing just messed up stories from his video calls It's chaotic. Shout out to At the Doctor 3196. Thank you so much for the $10 super thanks, and thank you so much for this comments. And there's a lot of things to really consider in this comment, but just going off the talking about the billionaires are mentally ill. I always say this. To me, a lot of your outcome depends on your initial motivation. First of all, we got to look at it like this. To me, my personal belief is that extremes of anything are bad. And I'm talking about bad as far as health and mental health and health just as a human being, having a quality of life that brings you the most peace and the most satisfaction. Extremes of anything are bad. So it's like, while I think Michael Jordan is the GOAT, and I have a great deep of respect for what Michael Jordan was able to accomplish, those kind of things are only accomplished by someone with an extreme personality. And, you know, those kind of reaching that kind of greatness requires an amount of sacrifice that I don't personally think is necessarily healthy. I appreciate people who are willing to do that so that I can appreciate their greatness. And but if we're looking at the difference between LeBron James and Michael Jordan, here's where I would argue the difference is: one was motivated by the love of the game, which I think personally is a much healthier motivation for success. If you are motivated by your love of the thing that you are doing, to me, I personally, even though it still takes an extreme amount of sacrifice and training or whatever it is to achieve that thing, to me, the motivation behind it is a much healthier aspect. Michael Jordan played basketball because he loved it. And you can say he loved the game by the way he went about the game. Just for the simple fact that in 1984, he was cognizant enough to think to himself before entering the NBA that, hey, these players, the NBA is paying lots of money. They might want to control what I do because they might be trying to protect their investment. Well, let me put a love of the game clause in my contract saying that I can play when and where I want to. That alone right there shows you that Michael Jordan's mind was on the fact that I'm a basketball player, first, second, and third. My first concern is being able to play basketball, and you can't tell me any different. And we saw that when he got injured the second season with the broken foot, and he had to basically fight management to be able to come back. And we all know, you know, he finally gets back and winds up scoring 63 against Boston. Before that, you know, they had him on the minutes restriction thing. But Michael Jordan was fighting to play. But LeBron James and these current NBA players, to me, when your motivation for making money is simply making money, to me, that is a different type of mentality. And to me, and when your sole motivation is making the money, I think that's already, we're going towards a different type of, I think it is some mental illness there. Number one, because I think what you are willing to do becomes a lot more broad when you're simply interested in making as much money as possible. Like, you have a lot less standards. You have a lot more leniency in what you're willing to do to make that happen. And when it's coupled with the fact that you want money and fame, you want money and the praise, like LeBron James, then you're willing to do a bunch of unethical stuff to make that happen. So LeBron James, again, he's trying to convince people he's the GOAT instead of earn the title. And so we could, I mean, shout out to at the Doctor 3196, because what he said in this comment, I mean, this is a whole lot that we could probably do several videos on the things you mentioned in this comment. But shout out to at the Doctor 3196. Thank you so much for the $10 super thanks. Thank you so very much for your continued support of the channel. Next up, shout out to at Swan Daily. This is coming from the same video. LeBron James has lots of money, but so little respect. And he comes through, he says, great video as usual. What are your thoughts on LeBron and Steph potentially joining forces? I don't recall you making a video about it, and so this will be the video about it. This is where the title of the video comes from. And yeah, I purposefully didn't make a video about it because I didn't even know what to say about this. So we all know that the talks about LeBron James going to Golden State again came up. Now, apparently the first time that it happened, supposedly, Rich Paul, shout out to Rich Paul for giving us the deer. Rich Paul supposedly told LeBron James this is not a good idea because of how it would look. And whatever Rich Paul said, it let us all know that they do hear what we're saying. But it came up again. The possibility of LeBron James joining Steph Curry. Now, unfortunately, I wish I could say with certainty that Steph Curry would shoot this idea down. But I don't think he would, you know. Now, obviously, it's probably not going to happen. But I don't think Steph Curry would shoot the idea down. But if they join forces, it's so many possibilities. Now, it's kind of a no-win situation if they did join forces, right? Because if they don't win, channels like myself are going to be going in on LeBron James in a way that will make you fanboys want to burn down everything around you. And if they did win, channels like myself will be going in on LeBron James in a way that would make you fanboys want to burn everything around you. Because if they don't win, to me, it is no surprise, just because, again, LeBron James, especially at this point, to me, he lessens teams. He doesn't add to teams. He doesn't make teams better. The only thing he's going to be doing is worried about stat padding, and like he does now. And the only potential difference is Steph Curry would be able to carry him to a championship that LeBron would inevitably get the credit for. So my thing is, for Steph Curry, he should shoot this down. But he wouldn't, because I feel like, you know, he didn't turn down Kevin Durant. I feel like he would embrace LeBron James. You know, all the hype has been going since they played together in the Olympics. But here's the thing, Steph Curry, this would be catastrophic on your legacy. This would be catastrophic on Steph's legacy because I feel like Steph Curry has already been in a situation where he doesn't get enough credit for what he's done. I feel like Kevin Durant coming there, you know, depending on how you look at it, a lot of people look at it as like, oh, well, Kevin Durant's the reason why they won. And Kevin Durant did play great in those series, but I've been on record saying Kevin Durant only plays great when he has a soft spot to fall. In other words, when he is playing with someone as great as Steph, where the pressure is not really on Kevin Durant to actually have to carry it all. This is when Kevin Durant plays great. But when he's in a position to where he doesn't have a player as consistent as Steph or he's in a situation that's unstable, like when he was on the Nets, and there's pressure there to perform, Kevin Durant is not that guy. But for every superstar that has played with LeBron James, they are not going to get credit. I mean, what did the Miami Heat years really do for Dwayne Wade? Yeah, you can say he got two championships out the deal, but for his actual legacy, to me, it really didn't do that much for Dwayne Wade. I think, to me, I would have looked at Dwayne Wade with just as much respect for having won his one and only chip than I did for him joining up with LeBron to have what I think is a failure of a failure of a run. Because with that team, to me, they should have won more than a back-to-back championship. To me, a three-peat, if you didn't get a three-peat out of that deal, it, to me, is for nothing. If you didn't get a three-peat out of the Miami Heat deal, and they didn't, to me, it was for nothing. 3 players like that, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, all on the same team. What they added Ray Allen, what the second or third year? I can't remember. But a team like that, and you don't get a three-peat out the deal, that was a failure. So to me, what did it really do for Dwayne Wade? Now, I guess in the history books, when you look back and you're just seeing stats and someone looks at the Dwayne Wade and they see 3-time champion along with the rest of the stats, maybe that'll make a difference. But for everyone witnessing it now, any superstar who has played with LeBron James, the only person that gets talked about is LeBron James. So LeBron James going to the Golden State Warriors, the only thing it would do is potentially give LeBron James fanboys some more ammunition. But for Steph Curry, oh, you better believe he's not gonna get the shine and praise that he deserves if they happen to win. He won't get that. He'll be thought of as the piece that LeBron needed to win. He'll be thought of as, LeBron finally has somebody who he can count on to complete his assists. That's the way Steph Curry will be thought of. So, I think it would be a lose-lose situation either way if he went to Golden State. If he joined Steph, it would be terrible if they don't win, and it would be terrible if they do win. I don't know. I really can't express I really can't express how disgusted I was once I heard that coming up again. But anyway, and last but not least, I'll say this. The other thing that would happen if LeBron James went to Golden State, I'm sure Golden State fans everywhere would be sick to their stomach. That's what I'm sure would happen as well. But anyway, shout out to @SwanDaily. Thanks so much for the $2 super thanks. Thanks so much for your continued support of the channel. And next up, shout out to @OneHawk. This comes from my Dr. J leaving LeBron James off of his first, second, and third team list. Fanboys crying everywhere. Fanboys saying, well, who is he anyway? And OneHawk comes through with the $5 super thanks, and he simply says, thanks for all that you do, and I sincerely thank you for supporting the channel, and I sincerely thank you for the $5 super thanks. And last but not least, shout out to @GTheGreat1 again. This is coming from my video yesterday about the liar, JJ Redick, saying that the reason the NBA ratings are so bad is because mainstream media keeps talking about how much the product sucks. This is why the NBA ratings are bad. Never mind that JJ Redick is part of the mainstream media helping to bash previous eras, JJ Redick needs to be slapped. But anyway, that's another video. Shout out to Ed G, the great one. He comes through with a $2 super thanks. He says, this was surgical, Uncommon. JJ Ridiculous is so out of touch with reality. I wonder if these guys really believe the lies that they are telling. All we hear is how these current players are and how much better they are than the players of the past. They don't want us to trust and believe what our eyes are telling us. JJ was the main one on BSPN pushing that false narrative that the players of the past were overrated. These guys like JJ are flat out disrespectful. I'm shocked a player from the past hasn't put his hands on one of them yet. The sad part is that the only reason they disrespected the players of the past is to prop up the duck. All of this just to make LeBron appear greater than he really is. Shaking my head. I know this to be a fact because we only see this agenda being pushed in the NBA, no other sport. LeBron and his circus full of clowns have really ruined the NBA. The NBA messed up the moment they made LeBron the face of the league. They have been telling lies ever since. Set MJ, Kobe, and previous eras to the side for a moment. The media discredits any player who appears to be a threat to LeBron. They have had smear campaigns against Kawhi, KD, Curry, Derrick Rose, Jokic, Kyrie, Jason Tatum, AD, Westbrook, and any other teammate of LeBron. They literally have torn down the era that they claim to be superior to past eras. It makes no sense. Anyway, keep this amazing content coming, Uncommon Sense. Shout out to G, the great one, and all facts. I can't disagree. I mean, yeah, they really, anyone who threatens LeBron James, they have to find a way to try to minimize these people. And again, LeBron James came in as the chosen one. I do not think that is a coincidence. I think this was calculated move on the part of the NBA to manufacture its first superstar, to make this guy what they wanted him to be, whether he was actually that or not. This was the first experiment to see how much media propaganda can actually make people believe that a superstar is the GOAT without him convincing the fans with his game and with the way he plays. And so, yeah, you know, I don't even know what to say. JJ Redick, yeah, the guy's just ridiculous and a liar. You said, I wonder if these guys believe the lies that they are telling. And that's a good question. This is something that I wonder. Part of me wants to say that they absolutely believe it. They absolutely believe it almost out of necessity. And what I mean by that is they believe it because believing it is the only way they can protect their reality. Or I should say, well, yeah, their personal reality, but it's actually delusion. It's like they believe it out of necessity to protect the delusion. You know, if you want to believe something so badly, but at the same time, I almost feel like deep down inside, in some crevice of the brain, that they know it is complete BS. And all this is desperation, because all this only serves themselves. All this is to serve themselves in a way to feel like they are part of something great, and to, I guess more importantly, not want to identify is part of the worst era in the history of the game. So it's like they have to protect the delusion. But anyway, shout out to @G, the great one. Shout out to each and every one of you who continue to support the channel. You guys, I truly cannot thank you all enough. And as always, at the end of these videos, I have to say, please continue to support all of the content creators who are giving you content with honesty and integrity. Shout out to Angry Old Hoops, Phenomenal Fitness, Sports and Fitness Rants. Shout out to Man Down Sports. Shout out to Sports T. Shout out to Brandon Love Sports and Uncut Hoops and Scap Attack and Too Raw and Ticket TV and Dreamers Pro and Franchise Sports 22, I believe is his name. And yeah, anybody else I'm leaving out, definitely drop it in the comments for people to see it. But shout out to everyone who is part of the voices who are telling the truth about what's wrong with this modern NBA. But continue to support all of these channels. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about any of the things we talked about today. You all have a truly fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. All right.